Go. All right, everybody, it's the Goober Brothers here. I'm Vin,
I'm Jared.
and today we are going to be discussing film theory. Jared, we're gonna do this in like a interview format. Jared's going to interview me while I play the game. Film is a passion of mine. Something I don't talk about until you kind of get me talking about it, and then I don't shut up about it. So,
For real.
yeah. Jared, I'm gonna pass the baton to you, and let's get this going.
Okie dokie. So yeah, we're gonna be talking film theory. He's gonna be playing Dead Island 2 while we're doing this, and given we're playing another zombie apocalypse game, let's talk about some. Let's just talk about some film apocalypse movies. All the different ones: zombies, meteors. 2012, Deep Impact. So, out of all the apocalypse movies out there, which one would you say is the one that makes you go, "Yeah, that actually might happen"?
Um, there's a film recently I saw called "Don't Look Up," I believe it's called, and the idea was that it was like a asteroid apocalypse type movie, but the funny part about it and thing that I make it feel like is so believable is that even though all the warning signs were there, nobody took it seriously. Like, nobody took it seriously. Nobody...
Hello.
Oh, hello, yes. Nobody took it seriously. Everybody continued on with their lives, posted on the social media, and nobody realized how serious it was until the asteroid was about to hit. And I feel like that's exactly what the hell would happen. Like, everybody would be like, oh, yeah, no, that's funny, blah, blah. I don't need to be out here. I need to go to
Yeah,
Monarch.
I feel like there's going to be, a good amount of people that is going to just full on panic and start rioting and going absolute ape shit. But I think you're right. I think a lot of people are just going to be like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, we've had this happen how many times, and just passes by.
Or, they just won't believe it. And I wouldn't believe them or blame them. I'm somebody who has a huge distrust in the government, and so unless something dramatically impacts me personally, I just kind of like, I have trust issues with I would feel like I would have trust issues when it came to like their announcements and whatnot. I feel like there would be an attempt to try to control me.
Yeah.
But I just I'd have to see. Yeah, I would try to do research before I just went. No, I'm not gonna believe this. But yeah, but if I may, I kind of want to talk about film as a whole, not necessarily limit it to one genre.
Oh no, yeah, no, we're gonna. I got a whole thing ready. I was just starting with that things. It's we're talking, playing a zombie game.
Yeah.
Work my way up through the ranks. So this takes place in Los Angeles, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or so to speak. So one of the famous movies out there that's kind of in the apocalypse range was San Andreas.
Okay.
And that takes place in Los Angeles. And so, based off how that movie was played out, do you think that film accurately predicted kind of how everything would take place?
Well, the idea of the oh, I have no weapons. The idea of the San Andreas Fault rupturing, it runs, if I remember correctly, down the length of California. The idea of it rupturing has been in the background of people's minds for a long time. So yes, it is quite possible that it could do that. It's hard to say how accurately that depiction is,
Well,
but it's
just based off your knowledge of earthquakes and people and stuff.
I don't know enough about that particular topic to say whether or not it would be accurate or not. But, you know, it's something that people have talked about for a long time, of the possibility of the fault rupturing. But
Yeah.
film, yes. Geography and you know, geology and how that would affect the greater area, I don't know.
Okay. Okay. Um. So, with a lot of films, and you know, not just apocalypse films, but just you know, all films really. You know, you've got to have a a good balance of action, comedy, uh, drama. There's so many different things you got to have, and there's got to be a good balance depending on what kind of film you're making. What would you say is one of the, in your opinion, one of the best balanced films out there?
Um, it's hard to say as
Like,
far,
like
you
your
know,
top
like
three.
off the
Top
top
three.
of my head. Also, I just want to prerequisite this just in case people are wondering. I have a massive headache and I don't know why. So I'm trying to work through that while bringing you guys content. Just wanted to disclosure on that.
Yeah, if he acts a little funny,
Yeah.
than normal.
But yeah, so like something that balances comedy, you know, and it depends, you know, like for me, the biggest thing with any movie, regardless of what I watch, I need a good story. It,
Right.
and so I don't, you know, I like all sorts of movies. I like comedies, I like romances, I like action, I like all almost all genres. But for me, the biggest critique isn't how funny something. It can all come down to this: it's how good the writing is. If the writing is good, all movies benefit. You know, it doesn't matter whether it's a comedy or an action thing or what. If you have piss poor writing, not everything else crumbles. You know, you could make a movie with good actors, bad actors, good effects, bad effects, but if the writing is poor, none of it matters. None of it matters. You have to be able to account for consistency, plot holes, you know, how those characters evolve over time.
Oh yeah.
You know, whether or not they do evolve. You know, if you have a character who starts out, you know, one way and ends the film the same way, you know, with no growth, then what was the point of the movie? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for me, it really
Well,
comes down to writing as a whole.
I guess let me rephrase the question a little bit.
Okay.
You know, you've seen a lot of movies. You've seen a large variety of movies.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I'm not going to say your favorite because that can be hard to say. But
It's really, I have a lot of
what's
favorites.
just the first movie that pops in your head that you know that was well written, that was well balanced, and just overall like you genuinely enjoyed the movie because it was done right.
Well, I'd have to list my favorite movie of all time, The Crow. The 1994 Crow, not the stupid piece of shit that came out recently. The original 1994 Crow is personally my favorite movie of all time. The writing on it was really good. It was really consistent. The characters grow as the movies go on. Um, the motivation is good. There's very little plot holes. And it's I almost contest with some people that I feel like the movie is not only an action movie, but it's a romance movie. You know,
Oh yeah.
his primary motivation for doing what he did was because he loved Shelley. He didn't care what happened to him. His instant thought is Shelley, and once he's completed his task, and you know, he sees Shelley, and he's ready to go to peace. You know, so it's just a very balanced, very well acted, very beautiful movie. Tragic, very tragic, as far as what really went down because of that. But just
Yeah.
an amazing movie. It's fun to watch. Michael Wincott as the villain, Top Dollar, is fucking hilarious. But like not in an outrageously like like think Adam Sandler or Jim Carrey type of way, but a very dark sense of humor.
Yeah.
One of the moments is one moment that makes me laugh almost every time when I see it is it's towards the climax, and they have injured the main character Eric Draven's Crow, and that causes him to lose some of his power. And he walks up to Eric with a sword on his back, ready to fight him, and he goes, "Quick improv for you." And he's got this deep, gravelly voice that I can't even do it. Quick, I got a quick improv for you. You ready? Here we go. Call, bang, fuck, I'm dead. And it's just the way he delivers it is just fucking. It just gets a chuckle out of you. You're like, why am I laughing at this? But it's his delivery is great, and every scene he's in, he just absolutely chews up the scenery. But the relationship between Eric and the detective and the little girl named Sarah that he's friends with, all of it's just beautifully well acted, and you believe in everything you see as far as how this movie goes. So it's a really good movie. It's really good, and it holds up over time. It really does. So
I'm gonna have to watch it. I haven't seen it, so
it's a great movie. I think we should watch it sometime.
Well,
Honest to God.
So a movie that I've seen that was very much like that, like it kind of goes off and hits some very interesting subject matters and really makes you think. Was there's a movie that had Matthew McConaughey and Interstellar.
Okay, would you believe that with all my love for movies, I have not seen that one yet? Now I know
It's the
all.
same for me on The Crow.
I now I know all about it. Because I don't just watch movies. I do, but I also study movies. And so if there's a movie I haven't gotten around to see yet, I have watched like video essays about it from multiple different people, and I know the cultural impact of a lot of movies that maybe I haven't necessarily personally seen yet. Because I just love studying film all the time. So even though I haven't seen it, I do know a fair bit about it. So
That's another movie you're gonna have to watch. Like it is just.
It's on my list. It's definitely on my list.
The action moments are very, intense. The emotional moments. I mean, it takes for me because I don't really connect with movies like an emotional level.
Mm-hmm.
I watch them and I enjoy them and then I have fun with it. But when a movie is able to make me cry because it hits that hard on the emotions, that's how I know, like, damn, this thing really done its job, like, very well. And there's only been, like, 2 or 3 movies that's actually made me cry. Interstellar.
Mm-hmm.
This one's a little weird, but Lilo and Stitch 2.
The second one?
Yeah, when Stitch died.
Ah. Okay.
Stitch died, and this is one of those. I watched that movie because the first time I watched it and I cried, and I'm like, this is an animated movie. Why am I crying? This don't make any sense. And so I'll wait a little while. I go back and I'll watch it again, knowing what's going to happen, and I still cry. I'm like, oh my god, what in the world?
War for the Planet of the Apes makes me cry. At the end. Well, no spoilers, but at the end something happens, and I'm over here like, why is this making me cry? But it's a great movie.
Right?
But those movies, by the way, are also very well written, very well acted.
The newer ones, not the originals.
I know the originals are very influential. I have not seen those as well, but the newer ones are just. I think they're a great example of taking something and surpassing the original.
Which is really rare and hard to do.
Oh, yeah. Also, this bitch is yelling at me, and I don't like that. And she's just gonna keep doing it until I go up there and... Okay, she's done. You need to die.
Done gave herself a headache.
Yeah, that's how I feel right now.
Maybe you should just scream at her, I don't know.
I could. Can I? No, not yet. No, I can't. I don't have that ability on this character.
Um, so, you know, we talked a little bit, you know, on balance and, you know, how a movie can make you feel. And that's how you really know that a movie is good, is when it makes you feel and connect. What's a movie on the flip side? The movie that is just like, it might have been a really good movie, but it missed the mark. You know, it was just something about it missed the mark, and you could not connect. But it's still a good movie.
But it's still a good movie. Oh, so okay, so you're talking about a movie where like a lot of people like it, and
Well, even a movie that you like, but it's just like you like the movie, but there's just something that's holding it back.
okay, but it's a good movie at the same time, because I feel like if it's
Yeah.
filling those parameters, it's not a good movie.
Yeah, so I'm talking like, you know, there are certain movies out there where it's entertaining, it's fun to watch, you have you have a good time watching it, and it's something you could watch multiple
But
times.
okay, so a bad movie that's entertaining.
I guess bad movie is on the extreme side of that, but yeah.
Okay, so that's
A movie that you really enjoy watching and you can watch multiple times, but doesn't necessarily mean it was I guess the best movie out there. Like it
okay.
could have
So
been
yeah,
better.
that what you're describing is a
Yeah.
bad movie that's entertaining. There's a lot of movies out there that are really, really, really bad, but they entertain me. I kind of have this thing about I'm wandering aimlessly, but that's because I'm doing this. But that's because I feel like I can still be a movie can still be bad, and if I acknowledge it's bad, but I'll be like, but this is really entertaining. I feel like a good example, and it's kind of a cop out because everybody's talked about it before, but The Room. It took me a while to see The Room, but when I finally did, I was like, yeah, I see why everybody else just loves this movie. It's awful. It's fucking awful. The acting is atrocious. The writing is bad. The camera work is bad. It's a mess of a movie, but it's so entertaining to watch because it's like watching a car wreck in slow motion. Like, you know this is not good what you're watching, but you can't look away. It's so satisfying. Like it's like to be this bad is its own form of art.
Yeah. So I think one for me, and this is someone that, like, I'm a huge fan of these movies, and I love watching when I can watch them over and over.
Mm-hmm.
But and it's something that me and you have discussed this in the past. I do agree. These particular movies could be better. But when it comes to entertaining, especially with my style of humor, they tickle that funny bone, they tickle that meta-ness, I guess. And that's pretty much the entire Deadpool series.
Ah, yes.
Even the new one, even the new one. I love the new one. I'm gonna watch it again as soon as I can. But it's just like there are definitely markers of it that goes, okay, this had the potential to be great, and it's just good. I love watching them. I'm gonna watch them, but it's definitely, I don't really have a connection with them. It's not like I feel for the characters. I don't. You know, it's not a movie that I can go and go, man, that is the absolute best. It is situational. It is targeted. A good movie is not targeted. It's something that anybody can watch, really. And this one's more targeted towards a specific audience.
Yeah.
But they're very entertaining. They're hilarious. But they definitely every single one of them has missed the mark somewhere. It's a different mark, but it missed a mark.
So, like, I have a very hot take. And this isn't even necessarily just about the Deadpool movies, but I would say this covers Ryan Reynolds as a whole. So I'm gonna piss off all three of our subscribers, which would only be two. But
I'm a big Ryan Reynolds fan, but I do understand that it is a hit and miss type situation.
I'm just gonna say this, okay? I don't think Ryan Reynolds is a good actor. And I'm willing to explain that and not just say it for the sake of saying it. But there's a reason why I believe that. So, wow, there's screamers everywhere. I think the quality of what makes a good actor is the ability to blend into multiple different roles. So a good example is Gary Oldman. If you know who Gary...
yeah, he's a phenomenal actor.
If you look at his different roles throughout his career, he has played... like, these characters, you could put them up next to each other, and they would all look, act, and sound vastly different. I'm about to get my shit pushed in.
I see that.
And that is truly what a phenomenally good actor is. The ability to play multiple different characters as if they're literally different people. Like if you took all those characters and put them in a room, you would have like just a melting pot of personalities, right? And looks. You know, even somebody like you know, somebody maybe not as prestigious like Chris Evans. You know, I've seen him play someone like ultimately like the goodest good like Captain America, and then play some actual legitimate sociopaths. You know, so, or just everyday type of dudes. That's the quality of a good actor. That being said, Ryan Reynolds plays the same fucking character in everything he does. Okay? Everything. If you've watched one Ryan Reynolds performance, you've seen literally all of them. He's a shitty actor. Because he cannot play anything different than the same shtick. Be it Van Wilder, be it his character from Red Notice, be it Free Guy, Deadpool. They're all, it's all the same shit.
Now,
he doesn't change.
There's one movie, and this one movie he played a character that was wildly different than anything else. I do agree he does have a bad habit of playing the same thing and if you've seen him one, you've seen them all. I do agree with that. Does he nail that character? Absolutely, because it's just him. But there's one movie he played, and it was a different style. And Jim Carrey has done the same type of spiel. And it's like, oh, okay, this is different. This is not.
Are you talking about Amityville?
Amityville.
I have not seen that one.
Amityville, he plays a very serious, down to earth. I mean, it's a horror movie, so there's no comedy really. Like, you actually say, oh shit, this guy is fucked up. Watch. I have it on DVD. We'll watch it one day. Even if you're not a huge Ryan Reynolds character, you'll see that if he does this same type of branching out with other movies, he has the potential. He just don't do it for some reason.
Because he likes to be in his comfort zone.
And I get it. Who don't? But I mean, Jim Carrey did the same thing. I'm a huge Jim Carrey fan, and a lot of his films are very similar, except for two. He has two that go way out the bounds. The number 23, he gets way out there with it, and I'm like, whoa, that was okay.
Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind is the other one?
Exactly,
yeah.
Yes. Those two movies really kind of go out there, and it really forces the actors to try different genres, and that's how they build up on their character and build up on their prowess of being a good actor.
I argue,
unfortunately, a lot of comedians just stay in that one range. They don't branch out.
I argue that Jim Carrey does venture a little bit outside of his comfort zone, even when he's playing silly characters.
Yeah, I mean, he did great with Sonic. I mean, he was both intimidating and funny.
But like, I don't feel like Stanley Ipkiss is the same character as the guy from
the comics.
As the no. I'm comparing his characters. I don't feel like Stanley Ipkiss is the same as Me, Myself, and his character from Me, Myself, I, and Irene, who isn't the same character as this guy from Liar, Liar. Who is it? Like, they're similar, but they're not dead on the same character.
Right,
they're not interchangeable. Ryan Reynolds' characters are all the fucking same. They are interchangeable. You could put Ryan Reynolds' character from Free Guy in Deadpool, and you wouldn't miss a fucking thing. Like it's the same
I'll give you
fucking
that.
character. It's the same character.
I'll give you that.
Like
I
if
still,
I
like I said,
played
it's one of
audio
those. It's
from those
a
movies,
fun. Oh yeah, no, I agree. I agree. But they are one of those. They are entertaining to watch, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's a good movie.
he makes me
Uh,
chuckle sometimes, but like a
yeah,
fart makes me
yeah.
chuckle
I like
sometimes.
laughing. I like laughing. Yeah, yeah. So now, well, while we're on the subject of comedians, you know, some comedians stick with stand-up. Some will branch off into movies, and some will even go and hey, they branch out just doing dramas and stuff, right? And
Yeah.
romantic comedies, and so they'll kind of veer off. You know, we mentioned Jim Carrey. He's done a horror movie in the past. He's done a drama, and he's done some romantic ones in the past too. But another comedian, a real famous one that has had a huge branch of comedy. Now, personally, I don't really see the humor. I don't connect with the humor the same.
Okay.
But some of his more dramatic roles are really good, and that's Adam Sandler.
Ah, okay. Adam Sandler. I have thoughts on Adam Sandler.
Adam Sandler as a comedian, like don't get me wrong, Happy Gilmore and Mr. Deeds and Click and some of these, it's not that they were bad movies. It's just that humor was it's dry. It's kind of okay, funny, haha. But then on his more dramatic stuff, it was like, damn, okay, now we're getting somewhere.
The dramatic moments in Click are some of the most like, where the fuck did this come from? Holy shit, you can do this type shit.
Yeah.
Like those moments are intense.
They are. That was another movie I cried on.
Uncut Gems, phenomenal. He has this movie where he spends the whole movie talking philosophical with a fucking space spider, and it's surprisingly good.
I've been wanting to see that. I can never find out what it was fucking called.
I think it's called Spaceman, and I believe it's on Netflix. I don't have Netflix though.
Yeah, I can get that. That's fine. I can find it on Plex or something. But yeah, I've seen that one. I was like, but his serious roles are serious, and and then if you get that same range and then flip it, all right, Christopher Walken, all right. Obviously, most people would know him for his voice.
Anyone there?
His drama is what he's known for, but he has spouts of comedy, and sometimes his comedy hits because it's so
Kind of digging the vibe.
out there. Like it's like, whoa,
It's just
okay.
the way it's just the way he says shit.
His
It's the
inflection.
voice. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think what's going on is like you have this serious dramatic actor which he does really good on, and it's like all of a sudden he turns into Gary Busey, and it's like, what the fuck? Okay. That took a turn. Interesting.
Yeah. So we've discussed actors, but what about directors?
Yeah, that's what I was fixing to get to. Is you got all these actors who just they have their place, they have their thing, and a lot of actors stick with specific directors.
I think it's the other way around. I think directors like to stick with specific actors that they're comfortable with.
Yeah, well, it might be that too. It might be that primarily. I don't know.
A duty roster.
But like with, for example, the MCU, it's got a variety of directors. It's all got the same actors throughout the movies, right? Unless it's a newer movie. But you got a variety of directors. You have the Russo brothers. You have Kevin Feige himself. You have, I
don't think Feige's ever directed one. I think he's just a producer.
He might be. No, not Feige. Fucking. Jon Favreau.
That's the one you're thinking of. Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's another one that directed it, and this guy now, this next director, I cannot stand. Like his humor is boring.
Is it James Gunn?
No, James Gunn I'm actually okay with. I think his is hit and miss, but no, fucking Waititi dude, whatever.
Oh, Taika Waititi. Oh yeah, no, Taika Waititi's a fucking mess. An absolute mess of a character.
I don't know who's
or not a character or a director.
Yeah, well, I mean, sometimes a character, even when he's acting, it sucks.
Yeah, he does. He plays the characters too. Yeah, he was in Free Guy's the villain, and God, he was annoying. God, he was
so
fucking
awful.
annoying.
The only role I've actually heard him in that I was like, okay, you do this decently, is he played Korg in the Thor movies, and it was
Fella on
okay.
duty was Hicks.
I don't think it
Do
fit
any of
Korg's
these dead
character,
boys look
but it
like
was
a Hicks?
okay.
When you first see Korg in Thor Ragnarok, he's funny. He's funny. But they kept putting him in movies, and it's just like, okay, the shtick is old now. I'm
Yeah,
bored.
it just
I'm
gets
bored
so
with this.
old so quick. Like, yeah, that first time you see him, it's funny, but it's literally it. This is the first time. After that, you're like, all right, I'm bored now.
Yeah.
But another one other than him is oh shoot, I had it and then I lost it. It's not one of those directors. And
Side note, while you're trying to figure that out, favorite
Yeah.
director of all time, Quentin Tarantino. I love Quentin
absolutely.
Tarantino's movies. He's a weirdo. He's kind of a weirdo.
Yeah, not what I meant.
Well, so
But-
is
Nope.
But his
not what I
movies are
need.
just so well acted, so well directed, so well
And he does
shot.
and he doesn't really have a lot of movies,
the
but
right
the ones
track
he
now.
does, he has a small amount, but the ones he does are phenomenal.
Oh yeah,
They're
oh, yeah.
long. He does long movies. Yeah, I like Quentin Tarantino, and so this is one that, you know, again,
of the
a
code.
very weird dude, has some weird ass movies, but 9
need
times out of
Hicks's
10,
tags
the
now.
movies are pretty damn good.
Last seen
And
going
that's
for a shite. Class.
what's it? He did Beetlejuice.
Tim Burton.
Tim Burton does great movies. A lot of animated ones, some live action ones. He did the original Batman in the 90s.
Yep.
Kind of has that got. So he has great movies. Some of the animated ones are hit and miss, but even the missed ones are still pretty decent.
Well, he does less movies than there's a lot of movies that people think Tim Burton directed that he didn't. Like, a lot of people think Tim Burton directed Nightmare Before Christmas. He did not.
Who did direct that? I forgot.
I can't remember the director's name, but it was not Tim Burton.
Yeah, only because I had that a very similar style. I'll look it up real quick. Hold on.
I believe he might have been a producer on it, maybe, but he did not. Don't you dare hit me with that. He did not direct that.
Henry Selick.
Henry Selick, yeah, I think he's a friend of Burton.
But yeah, produced his directorial debut and produced and conceived by Tim Burton.
Yes, so there's a lot of times where people will be like, "Hey, Tim Burton directed this movie," but he's directed a lot less movies than most people think.
Yeah, he's if he's not the director, he's a producer. But you know a Tim Burton movie when you see it because it has that Edgar Allan Poe kind of a thing going on.
he's like a modern day Edgar Allan Poe. I think that's a perfect description of who Tim Burton is. But Tim Burton's all right. He's not my favorite.
No.
But he's
still like you have to kind of appreciate it.
Christopher Nolan. Christopher Nolan's a phenomenal director. He makes
yeah,
he makes movies that make you think.
No, those are good. I like
I
those.
believe he did Interstellar. I think that's one of the ones he did. But he did the Dark Knight trilogy. He didn't do Shutter Island. That was Martin Scorsese, I think. But he's done a lot of really good movies.
Martin Scorsese does pretty good too. He's a good actor and director.
I don't believe Martin Scorsese is an actor.
Who am I thinking of?
You might be thinking Martin Short.
Maybe. Who played Ulysses Claw in the Black Panther movies?
Oh, that is Andy Serkis, and he is also a director now.
Maybe
He
that's what
hasn't
I'm
directed
thinking
a lot, but
yes, Christopher Nolan directed Interstellar.
that's what I thought. Yeah. So he's did Tenet, he did Oppenheimer, he did the Dark Knight trilogy, which is what he did. Memento, I believe he did Memento. Yeah, he did Memento.
Yeah. Now you say that he makes movies that make you think. This reminded me of a movie. I don't know if it was horror. I think it was considered a thriller.
Oh, I didn't mean to
thriller
fucking throw that.
Thriller movies, really, I love them. Like, they're hard to describe, but anyway, Secret Window with Johnny Depp.
Never seen that one.
Oh, it's phenomenal. It's a great movie. It takes a twist. It's very much it's a thinker. but it's a good movie.
This bitch does not stop yelling at me, I swear to God. There we go. Gotta get her. Gotta get her. Get off me! Why? Not before she screams again. There we go. Okay.
So, you know, we've talked about some directors, we've talked about some actors, and some different things, and then there's a couple other things I want to ask. But before I get to that, I want you to name a couple things off the top of your head.
Okay.
That is vastly important to a movie to make it good, besides just the plot and the director and the actors.
Well, those are very important parts right there, but...
Yeah, but what's something else that without this, these movies would just not do the same?
I think, well, you know, I don't feel like effects are as important as people, you know,
you can do a lot of great things with just stop motion.
Yeah, you know, minimal effects, minimal budget. Some of the best movies I've ever seen or researched are, you know, low budget darlings. But honestly, you know, those are the important things. You know, a great, you know, if a really good actor does not have a good script or a good director, they can't do shit. You know, there's nothing they can do.
But for those movies that really make you feel, the soundtrack, the ambience.
I
have seen movies with great plots and had awful music or had awful sound, and it was just like, this does not fit.
A good soundtrack can really make a difference. I just fucking set myself on fire. But I know a lot of movies that don't have a soundtrack at all. So I don't feel like it's super crucial, but again, like I really do believe that without a good director, I'm gonna die. Without a good director or a good script, that's it. That's your heart and blood right there. You know?
Yeah, I mean those are obviously your top three: actor, director, and script. But I also, like you said, there's certain movies that don't even have a soundtrack, and it's better just to not have one than just to have a bad one.
Yeah. I'd say that there's been bad movies out there that have great soundtracks. So like it's really not that inconceivable to have a decent soundtrack. In fact, I feel like it'd be hard to list a movie that has a really god-awful soundtrack, unless it's like C-movie schlock. But also, given that music is fluid and can kind of cover a wide variety of likes and tastes. Again, a soundtrack is not so hypercritical. You know, there's a lot of old school horror movies that just have, you know, this synth or disco-y kind of feel to them, their soundtracks, and you would think like, oh, that sounds awful, but it just kind of fits the mood of it. And they're not really great movies, but the soundtrack is still good because it's not good music, quote unquote, but it's fun music, so it still makes it a really good kind of killer soundtrack. So again, I most soundtracks are good. I really can't think of a bad soundtrack. So I can understand where you're coming from, and I'm sure it exists out there where like, hey, this could have used, but I don't feel like a soundtrack is a make or break of a movie. It really isn't, unless somebody somehow deliberately just made the worst fucking soundtrack you've ever heard in your life, and it has nothing to do with what you're watching on screen. Like the equivalent of somebody playing fucking kids music while a horror movie's playing.
Okay, well, with that being said, what's a really bad movie that you can think of that had a fantastic soundtrack?
A bad movie that had a fantastic soundtrack. Let me think here.
Like you literally, the only reason you even acknowledge it is because of the music.
Off the top of my head, I can't think of anything. Honestly, I really can't. I'm not huge into movie soundtracks, unless it's like super duper iconic. Because
Well, I know,
because
like, I know.
soundtracks are mostly background noise. It's ambiance. It's something that
Yeah.
plays while you're
Well,
focusing on the story.
yeah, it helps you. I mean, the whole point of soundtracks is to help you uh, get more immersed into whatever's going on. That way, you're not distracted by other things.
But a bad
It helps.
movie with a good soundtrack.
See, this is for me. This is one of those movies that I love the actor, the main actor in this. He does really good stuff. A lot of his movies are hit and miss, but a lot of his movies also, it's like, or specifically the one I'm fixing to mention, it really, it was, it was different for when it came out. It was kind of testy, but I feel like its soundtracks and its CGI is what really made the movie what it was, and that's the Matrix series.
Those are good movies, though. Those are
They're okay.
really no. No, those are especially the first one, legendary. I mean,
I mean,
I
I
contest that
kind of
the
put them
third
into
and
the
the
cult classic kind of film where it's like you know of them, you've seen them, you've memorized them, but when you really go back and watch it, it's like
no, they
that.
still hold they still hold up. I think the third and fourth
Keanu
ones.
Reeves is great, but those, yeah,
I
like
think that
and it's
the third and fourth ones can be considered kind of but they're really only bad in comparison to what came before them, but they're still otherwise good movies. I can't say I agree that those movies are bad, and I feel like most people would say that no, those movies are phenomenal.
okay. Okay, so you know we're talking on film theory, so let's get theoretical.
Okay.
What's a movie? Doesn't matter the genre. But what's a movie plot or idea you've had that if you could direct one, what kind of movie would you make?
Ooh, interesting. I'll scrap that. Um,
I mean,
I
obviously, I've been more into horror movies. I like horror movies, so those are usually my top pick. But what's
um I so I've had a lot of moments throughout my life where I was kind of stuck in a situation where I had to I'm trying to play the game and talk at the same time.
no, you're
Um
good.
where I had to kind of pass the time by
Are you
thinking
trying to
of,
get killed?
I'm
stuff
just keeping things
to
interesting.
Get over here and explain
movies
yourself.
or ideas or plots to kind of
You always do
but
the
they're
opposite of
all
what you're told?
You dangle the
IPs
juicy
that have
carrot of a
existed
full
before.
military squad to back
Well,
me
even
up
so,
Um,
and
what's
expect me
like
I've
not to
your
never,
own little.
got the wrong end of the
but
money, soldier.
I haven't really see.
Well,
I'm somebody
listen,
who kind of
partner.
loves
Admit it. You're a
pre-existing
little bitty
IPs.
bit
I
happy to
don't
see a
really
friendly
sit
face
down and
again.
think of my
Just
own
shut up, okay?
story from
Right
scratch.
now,
I
you are
kind of
sand in my grease.
build
There's two ways this
characters
goes.
off
You
of
make yourself
original
useful, or my boot
IPs
propels your
or
ass back where it
pre-existing
came from.
IPs and
That's just a
create
Saturday
stories
night. Try some honey
based
to
off of
sweeten the
those
pot.
pre-existing
'Cause vinegar don't wash with
IPs
me.
because my
Right.
OCD, I
How about
kind of
some
focus on
genuine
things that I
U.S. Army
like
gear?
that already
Finest
kind
in
of
the
exist
world.
in the real world, but I've
So
never
they tell
sat
us.
down and gone,
I think you and
okay,
I
what
are
is
gonna
this
be friends
original
after all.
character from
Then
scratch that
listen
I
up. I got a hole in
can
my
build a
defenses.
story off of?
Buppets
I've
keep
never
coming
really
from the
done
pits
that.
out back. And
Okay,
contrary to
So
well, go ahead and go to the
rumor,
next
I'm
subject,
well,
man.
particular
hang
about
on.
exposing my
This does
rear.
give me the idea,
Can't say
though,
I'm so
kind
innocent.
of based on what is
Well, go on
something
then.
I
How
have
do I
thought
get to the
of
pits?
as far as
Measure a
a
ton of
film
deodorant?
that
Fire.
maybe isn't original
Burn
but
them all.
is based off an IP that I love. I have this
First
idea in
floor,
my head,
back
and we've
entrance.
talked about this
Assuming
before,
you're still up for this.
of um, a
I'll be locking the
Scream
door
sequel
behind you.
where we find out that the character of Gale has been the mastermind of this of everything that's happened since the beginning because her career was crumbling and she needed a push to kind of keep her going. And having these Ghostface attacks happen all over and over and over again throughout the years kept her relevant. and kept her going.
Yeah.
And so she would constantly instigate people to take up the mantle of Ghostface so that she could intervene and kind of keep this going and keep her career going. I've explained it a little better before in proper circumstances, but yeah.
But yeah, I mean, she, right after Maureen Prescott's death, she wrote a book about it.
Mm-hmm. And that got her...
got her a little bit going, got her a little bit of recognition. But then, even after that, you had the fact that, after the events of the first movie, she wrote a book called the Woodsboro, I think it's called the Woodsboro Murders or something. And she knew exact conversations that happened between people that she wasn't even supposedly anywhere near.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it could just be a plot hole for the movies, but
you could turn that into something. You could turn that into something for sure.
How has she always known every single thing that happens with everybody, down to that little bit of detail?
There's a way to spin it. Think about, now we know that Nev Campbell didn't show up in Scream 6 because of, behind the scenes bullshit. But within the plot of the story, how crazy is it that even when Nev or Sydney was not going to be involved with something, that still Gail was still there, was always there.
She's been in every single movie.
Oh, yeah.
What.
Oh, yeah. She just finds...
No matter where Ghostface was, whether it was in Woodsboro, California, or New York City, she was there. She
finds a way to insert herself into every single Ghostface attack. And always manages to make sure that Ghostface is dead. Almost like, hey, that Ghostface... Covering her tracks. Yeah, covering her tracks. There's a way to spin it, and I love the idea. It's not because I dislike Gale, but I love a good twist. And again, I
could see, they're working on Scream 7 right now, and they're bringing Nev back. So, and it's going to be primarily focused on her again instead of the Carpenter sisters or whatever. But I can see them, if they wanted to send this off like the grand finale, is have her revealed as being the one there all the time. Make it she was the mastermind. She was the one that influenced everything. It's been suspected for years. Everybody's been, it's her. She's been suspected so many times and it's always been pushed away. And now that she's finally gained Sydney's trust and all these people's trust as this big survivor. Oh no, I'm a survivor because I'm the one who done it.
Yeah. Think about it. Even like her boyfriend got taken out in that last movie. Somehow, it's just like there's something.
And she survived.
Yeah, there's something about it that just, even when Dewey couldn't survive, she was still there. Like it's crazy when you really think about it.
Slimy gack, you're supposed to be burning.
Jeez. Yeah, no, the Scream series is one of those I think gets underrated for horror movies because it's based semi in reality and not some movie monster type thing.
The idea of Ghostface is that anybody can be Ghostface. And it's scary to think that even in the real world, somebody decided they just had enough. They could go to a Spirit Halloween store, pick up a Ghostface costume, and just say, all right, I'm done, Then
it'd be real life.
Mm-hmm.
And then you would have, because, those movies are really big into playing off the real world meta, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so this is one of those, if it actually happened, it would be like a real life movie.
Yeah, it's
because
scary.
They could say they blamed it off of Scream, and Scream says they blamed it off of Stab. It would just be this interdimensional warp of it.
It's crazy to think about the overlap of how, you know, like you'll never have Freddy Krueger or Jason in real life. You just won't. But
No.
the idea of Ghostface is quite horrifying when you really consider the fact that that could happen.
Yeah, well, not just Ghostface, but even something like Jigsaw. Jigsaw, that's, you know, semi-based in reality. I mean,
Another
someone who's
favorite of
smart,
mine.
yeah, you know, he could do these things very easily.
Now
Well,
we're starting to dip into our next episode right here, actually.
yeah, well, not our next episode, but it's kind of cool. Which
A
we'll
future
come back to.
episode.
Yeah, we
So,
will go into more detail later about these things, but it's still, you know, it's still in the plot of films. Like, you know, these you have your movies where they're based in,
Quite the
you know,
fire starter,
reality,
aren't ya?
and then you have
Only
these
one of
movies that
mine
are
managed.
based in like this fictional type thing. And sometimes these, if it's really good, you have a hard time discerning, I guess the word,
discerning.
discerning, yeah, what's real and what's not. Which is what the Matrix tried to do, but I just don't think it hit the mark with it.
I know a lot of people that would disagree with you.
Yeah, I know a lot of people that would disagree with me too, but that's just me. I'm looking at this movie and I'm going, I get what they're trying to say, that we're living in a simulation and all that. I get where they're coming from, but I have a whole lot easier time
As opposed
thinking
to
that, you know,
all the safe
there actually
non-suicidal
might
options
be
I have.
Ghostface killers running around than I would us living in a simulation.
I mean, if it's a good simulation, you're not gonna know.
I mean, true. Another movie that is kind of different, I guess you could say. Well, first, do you have a movie that you've watched that was kind of outlandish,
Ah!
but that was also like you went, damn, this was all over the place, but damn, this is actually good.
Oh, it's good. Okay, I heard you say that first part, and I was like, oh, Fast and Furious, but no, I don't. I fucking hate those movies. Something that's outlandish, but kind of good.
Yeah.
Now, that's a very broad term. Are we talking about something that might be based in the real world? Because, you know,
Yeah.
Star Wars is pretty outlandish. John Wick. John Wick is outlandish as real world can get while still being good. Like that people don't realize those movies take course like one day after the other after the other after the other. There is no break in between. That man would be
Not gonna lie.
exhausted. We don't see him
Tough to be
sleep.
on
We
this
don't
game.
see him
I
eat.
feel like that might be an
He is just
understatement.
taking
Look, I'm
whoopings
just gonna
one
wing
after
it.
the other.
Sound good?
Well,
And
if
John,
anyone
you know,
can, you
as we
can.
talked, Keanu Reeves is 60, 55. He's up there. He's up there in age, and
He is
yet,
up there.
Show me what
and
you
yet
got
he
there.
just keeps going. Like, yeah, those are movies that are a little bit out there, but really fucking fun. And they're written well, they're acted well, the effects are great, the choreography's great. Can't say anything about the music. I don't really pay attention to the music in movies.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
But they're really good movies, but they're a little out there. But that's the fun of them. That's the fun
Yeah.
of them.
So another thing I was thinking about, this kind of goes with not only the movies that this particular director does, the director and the movies that he makes, they're kind of on that same line where they're outlandish, but some of them are literally based out of reality, and some of them are like science fiction, but maybe believable to a certain aspect. James Cameron has made some interesting movies. You know, with the Avatar, they're kind of out there, you know, a whole nother planet and all that nonsense. But the idea of turning your consciousness into a different body and then living out another life, I can kind of see that happening. It's something that they're working on already now. Same with Ready Player One with VR work. That's not James Cameron, but
I do not like the Avatar movies. I'm just gonna go out on a limb and say that. I don't understand the hype that people have for those movies. Also, fuck these dudes. You know, everybody loves the Avatar movies. No. That being said, I think my favorite James Cameron movies would be Aliens and Titanic.
Yeah. Again, both of those. You know, the Aliens is out of space. I don't see Aliens being ever anything that could actually happen.
No. It's
Maybe,
too far.
but
It's too far away to say right now.
Yeah, because those take place in like the 21st century or
No way.
the
We're in
22nd century.
something like
Sorry.
that. Years down the line. Oh, okay. I'm gonna
2100s.
die.
But you know, Titanic was something that actually happened, and still was able to make a compelling story with fictional characters mixed with real people that actually was there, and it worked. There's obviously
What were you trying to point out?
Oh, nothing. My screen was dipping down.
We are just a heads up, folks. We're down to our last 5 minutes.
Alright, I was gonna say we should be getting close.
We are.
So we can go ahead and just kind of wrap it up. Start our conclusion. You know, really with all these films, if you can have a really good film, but if it doesn't have the right director, it's not going to work. You can have a really good director, but if the script isn't right, it's not going to work. So, you know, there's a lot of things with films that goes into place, and a lot of missed opportunities, I feel. Because I've seen some movies that had great potential, but just the wrong people.
Yeah. You know, and there's a lot more I wanted to cover that I really didn't get to. I really kind of wanted to talk about how movies are kind of going downhill today, and how the process of filmmaking and whatnot is really starting to die because of streaming and people putting politics in movies more so than normal. I mean, politics have always been in movies, but not to the level that it is now, where people are using movie franchises that have existed for decades as a platform to speak on their personal political beliefs instead of maybe a more broad political statement.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, we are just almost out of time, and we don't have the time to talk about that. So hopefully next time, I want to do a part 2 on this. I want to do a part 2 on this, and I kind of want to cover those.
I have a game that I think would fit that perfectly for that particular subject matter, as far as things getting too much political and too much audience appeasement instead of just generally making a good movie.
Yeah, and where films are going now, because as far as the film industry dying, because you know, how movies are so much more accessible now compared to how they were. But yeah, we'll cover that in the future.
Doesn't really do much anymore.
I love going to a theater because I'm, you know, a 90s kid, and I love it. Yeah, it is. But most people would rather just not would just wait to go home until it comes out on streaming. And sometimes I do too. I'm waiting for Deadpool and Wolverine to come out on streaming. I'm not going to go to the movies for that, but I'm still going to see it. But with that, this is the perfect place to stop. We got a couple minutes left, and I just finished this big old boss fight, so shall we wrap it up?
This game is so chaotic.
It is. It's a very chaotic. We barely talked about the game at all, but you know, we're still figuring this out, and hopefully as we come out with more and more videos, our format will get a little bit better. Again, I hope people realize that the video games are just background noise and something to play in the background while you hear us conversate, and not necessarily our primary, you know, we're not a gameplay channel. We're not. We're just here. The games are just in the background for us to...
You know, you can see some game gives you a little extra stimulation, but
yeah.
Anyway, yeah, if you want to see more content, just
like, subscribe, and follow.
Yeah, and tell us something about movies. Tell us something about movies that you really like or dislike, and we're going to try and respond to all comments. And if you've made it to the end of this video, if you watched the whole thing, leave a pickle emoji. It's kind of a thing. I don't know why. It just is.
All right, guys. That is it. And thank you for watching. And Goober's out.
Bye bye.